Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of PMP's Den of Antiquities. Today, we got another awesome chapter in the Star Wars Perspective podcast. Today, we have on Brad, aka Dregen. Is it Hausk? Is that how you say that?
Hausk.
Hausk. Okay.
Hausk. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
What the question I usually ask everybody when they first get on is, what got you into Star Wars?
Being a product of the 80s. So I was born in 79. I missed the first movie, basically missed Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, probably still too young to comprehend, but having older brothers that were into Star Wars and friends of theirs, it was the heyday for me because I ended up with all the hand-me-down toys, just all the little odds and ends. I mean, being the little brother, tagging along with the older brother, getting just join in on the fun. And that's what I always tell everybody. I had a Hoth soldier and a Hoth rebel and a Boba Fett, and somebody had put like clay or putty on Boba Fett, but nobody wanted Boba Fett. Those are the only two guys I was allowed to play with. And but long story short, being around those toys, and then just those movies constantly in the VCR playing all the time, for a while, I was in my head, I thought Return of the Jedi was the first movie I remembered, but honestly, it's the speeders at the beginning of Empire Strikes Back. That just always stuck out, and Luke hanging from the bottom of the AT-AT, slicing into the bottom. Really just, being young and having, older brothers with friends that were all into that, just kind of pounded it into my head and got to enjoy it.
So you got to see the original trilogy like in the theaters though, right? Or did they show them were there today? You know how they have repeat stuff where they show stuff after it's already been filmed?
I know I've seen Return of the Jedi, and in my head I went when it was first released. I was 3 years old, so I'm pretty sure I don't remember. And then I came across something where it said, I think in 86, 87, they re-released Return of the Jedi for theaters. And I'm pretty sure that would have been about the time, because in my head, I also remember going to see Top Gun, and it was all around the same time. So,
okay.
Yeah, that's about it. And honestly, I've never seen A New Hope or Empire Strikes Back in the theater. So
I would love to see the original trilogy. Yeah, they did it. I was kicking myself because a few years, probably 5 or 6 years ago, they did that where they showed some. And sometimes you can find a movie theater that's they're doing throwback movies or something like that, and they'll play Empire or A New Hope. And I'm just I didn't see, because I was the same way, but for the prequels. I was born in 95, so that kind of made me miss Phantom Menace. And I was I want to say maybe 7 or 8 when I saw Attack of the Clones or something like that. And then Return of the Jedi, of course, I was old enough, so I saw that a million times. But it's kind of funny that we both kind of started the same way, because I feel the exact same way, but about the prequels.
Well, and see, I think I missed an opportunity, because I want to say when the prequels were coming out, they did showed the first 3 movies up to the day, and then it was the start of Phantom Menace and stuff. Yeah. But I think by that time, because what was that, 99?
Yeah, I think Phantom Menace came out in 99.
Yeah, 99. I was trying to be a young punk running around. I was too worried about listening to bands and everything else, but I was still going to go see those Star Wars. So
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
If you had to pick one thing about Star Wars, what would be your favorite thing about Star Wars? What calls you to Star Wars?
So, I don't know, I guess this may be cheesy, but it was the glimmer of hope, to the whole thing that this, and we can get into Andor and all, how much I love all that, but it was just the thought of hope that these guys that had everything against them were standing up and fighting and literally risking everything. Now we learn more history about Mon Mothma, but before we just knew there was this lady who was the boss, whatever. I don't know, really just, seeing this, I don't want to say unorganized, but, less equipped, no money, scrounging for you name it.
Duct tape strapped to the
yeah.
plane.
I mean, that's it. Yeah. I mean, I'll ramble on about that, but it was just, this group, we got to see them come through, and that's from everything. Now, the prequels start off lighter and end up darker, but there was still always that hope. At the end of it, we get Luke and Leia, and you got Yoda and Obi, and they get together. So now we have this new hope again. So I think it was just, about pretty much the underdog coming out on top. It doesn't matter how much money, how much power you got. It's all about the heart. It's what drives you. So that's one of those things. But I will say the blasters and the ships. That's a couple other things I love about Star Wars.
Yeah, they're all solid, man. The blasters and the ships are really cool. They especially like the past few years, man. I feel like they've come out with like new designs, and like they just look like they fall right into place with Star Wars, which is like the coolest thing.
Yeah.
So you kind of grew up with the original trilogy, and then you kind of saw the transition of the prequels. Like how did you kind of navigate that? Like what I say side, it wasn't really like a side, but like what, like were you kind of hesitant on the prequels like when you first watched them?
So I was very hesitant, and it took my oldest son about a year ago really to say, Dad, just shut up and watch them again. I've always appreciated, because I'm a sucker for a backstory. If there is something that we get to see and we get information from like before it, I love it. So that's what the prequels were, so I went in like, oh, this is going to be awesome. The thing that really took it out for me, that hurt the prequels for me, was just the no live sets. Everything.
Dude, that's like my number one thing about I love the, because like, obviously like that's what I grew up with, like that's my childhood, but like I get why George did it. Like he wanted to
100%
ILM and like see how far he could, like, because without any of that stuff, we're not getting like the volume or anything like that with Marvel, like, and how Marvel does all this. Like I get it, but like there's something about that kind of like magical, like mysticism that you get with like the puppets and the animatronics and stuff. And I get there were some of that and stuff like that, but like you see the prequels and like it's just like green or blue,
But I would say I think it was about 93, 96, and I remember my mom picked me up the OG trilogy box set, and it was all remastered. So I'm dealing with old school, Jabba's a puppet, you name it, it's all live action. And when she got me that box set, there was all this new stuff, and I'm getting irritated because the band in Jabba's palace is changed, the song is different. I'm like, wait a minute, like I can't even sing along to this. So we were starting to see that change, and like I said, I have to give George Lucas credit, because just as you said, I mean, everything that he has set in motion from those prequels, he learned from his mistakes. I mean, now he can go back and say, oh yeah, I did that, but if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't have what we have now. There's a whole generation of prequel lovers that are building, that are building what we have now. So, I take it for what it is. I never bash on anybody like, oh my God, you like the prequels? Well, I'm not into that, but just as for favorites, I'll watch the OG trilogies, and, other people hate this, but I'd rather watch the sequels than the prequels.
Really? But interesting. Okay.
I've gone back and watched the sequels, and I do appreciate them. I mean, there's things that happen inside of that. I mean, we got Jango Fett. We got to see a young Boba. So there are so many good things that did come from the prequels. So I just, let's try to peel back the onion, pick all the good stuff out, don't complain about the bad stuff, and just go with it.
Yeah, that's how I feel kind of about the sequels. Like, did I like the sequels? Not necessarily, but I do. One, I think it's cool because it brings like a whole new generation of fandom in, which is awesome. And then two, there are stuff that's like, that's the thing that cracks me up about a lot of people. They're like, oh, these movies are bad. I'm like, you're telling me there's not a single moment in that movie that you didn't enjoy some aspect of, even if it was like the color of a ship or something like that. There's always something you can find in like that. But I wanted to ask you about that, because you've kind of seen all the like the first generation, which was the original, then the prequels. How do you think the sequels are going to kind of be like the prequels? You know how they got a lot of hate, and then
100%.
Like 10 years from now, like they're going to be kind of like renowned and like loved like the prequels are?
100%, man, because I see it with my youngest son. He he loves Kylo Ren. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Kylo Ren's sick.
You know, so to him, he looks at Darth Vader. He's like, "Oh, cool, that's the old guy that used to do that." Look at Kylo Ren, you know, running through the forest, just bashing folks and doing that. Now, granted, I try to. I always call him Krylo Ren, so don't tell Mike that. Even though don't listen to this, Mike. But you know, I see it with my son, and I see it with a lot of folks. I mean, you know, like go to Target, and you know now they're starting to put a lot of older toys, like bringing older figures or older characters back, you know, with the Black Series and stuff. But for, I don't know, probably 6 years, you know, it was full of sequel toys, you know, ships and all. And I mean,
saved a lot of money that year. Those years.
Yeah. So, yeah, I definitely feel that there's going to be just how I feel about the OGs, you know, where you're at with the prequels. There's going to be sequels, you know, just it's what the kids grow and love because they see that. And then their parents say, hey, let's go watch these original movies. So to them, it's like, you know, okay, cool. You guys have the original movies. That's yours. But I got to go to the theater and see these, you know, so that's just their run.
There is something about seeing a stock. Like, I was talking about that the other day. I was like, man, we need something in theaters. I don't care. Like, release The Mandalorian in theaters or something. We need to go. Like, there's like everybody. You know, I see a lot of people argue that like Star Wars is better on TV with like TV shows instead of movies, and I'm just like, I don't know, man. There's something about like opening day where you like sit, even if it's not opening day, but like sitting in a movie with some popcorn, and then you just hear that dun, 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 dun,
it just blows behind you, hits. I mean, you know, standing in line for Rogue One, and then all the sequels and stuff, because I'm going to see them on opening night. The Rise of Skywalker, you know, happens to be the most shakiest one out there. I decided to go to the 1 o'clock showing of that, and trying to stay awake through that one was a difficult run. But I worked all day. I was tired, but you know, just being there, man, seeing Death Troopers lined up outside, seeing Stormtroopers, seeing First Order, because locally there's a costume shop, 850 Armor Works. So when these movies come out, the theaters hit these guys up, and I mean, they hit up our local garrison, and they just all pile in. So, cool. It's awesome. I mean, it was just to see those guys all out there, you know, full dress. It definitely makes it good.
That's awesome, dude. Yeah, it's just always cool seeing those. Like I've seen a couple like Darth Vaders and a couple Stormtroopers at some of. I think when I went, because I saw Force Awakens opening night, and then my friend and I, once we got out of Force Awakens, immediately like ran to the kiosk, and like we had to wait like another 3 hours in the mall, but we waited and like saw it again at like 12
That's
or whatever.
Awesome.
But yeah, there's a lot of like Stormtroopers and stuff like that. So
and dude, that makes it, man. You know?
Yeah. I want to be one of those people one day. I'm hoping hopefully by that time, the time that the next movie comes out is the time I'll have a cosplay actually finished. Yeah. But
you'll get there, man. You're always doing good stuff.
Yeah, it's time consuming. That's all. You know how it is. I know you know how it is. But what do you? So I'm kind of coining this era of Star Wars, kind of like the Disney Plus era. How do you feel? Kind of with everyone. You know, we've got Mando, we've got Visions, we got Boba Fett. Did I already say Andor, or did I say Mando?
You said Mando, but throw Andor in there.
Andor, Clone Wars. I don't know if you're an animated fan. But
I love it.
We got a lot of that stuff. How are you feeling so far with all? Kenobi too.
Kenobi, yeah. I mean, so are there little things that I didn't like? Sure, but man, it's. To me, any new Star Wars is good Star Wars, and there's people that are going to disagree, but I tried to be as positive as possible and just pull in the fact that we are getting something.
It could be dead. We could have a dead fandom.
Exactly. I mean, let's say Disney didn't pick it up and they didn't release the Mandalorian in the height of the worst of the world has ever been in a while, with COVID and everybody being locked down. I mean, dude, that show saved, to me, it saved a lot of folks because it brought back Star Wars. It was so hard hitting. I mean, it was completely different than what we were used to. It's not Boba Fett. It is a Mandalorian. But we got to see stormtroopers, which the remnant troopers, and we got that feel again. So we get to. I think it allowed folks to open up, grab, learn how to build a costume. I mean, I didn't really start even dabbling into trying to build anything until years after that. But it was just sitting there watching that show like, I want to be that guy. I want that, and even if it was a background character, seeing the remnant troopers, dirty helmets, half of the armor and stuff like that. Oh man, dude, I love it,
It was crazy to me because I didn't catch how many people really loved Mando and have only seen Mando. I mean, now I think it's people are kind of branching out a little bit more, but when Mando first came out, there were people oh, I like Star Wars, and then I would talk to them about it only to find out that they had only seen The Mandalorian, or that's what kind of what got them into Star Wars. And I was just that's so crazy to me because I'm just I saw the original trilogy, then I saw the prequels, that's kind of how I got into it. So I don't know, when I'm not thinking about it, I'm oh, everybody just saw the prequels and saw that. But some people are I just watched Mando. I thought Baby Yoda was cute. I watched Mando, and now I'm a Star Wars fan. I've seen all the other stuff. And I was that's so crazy to me.
It's nuts, man. And it's like what we were kind of talking about with the OGs, prequels, and sequels and stuff. I mean, to some folks, they got a free Disney Plus subscription with their Verizon phone, and they get it, and then the show comes on and they're just bored. They throw it on and, oh, this is cool. And that is the Star Wars they know. Oh, and then they can relate when they see a stormtrooper. So it was kind of good that they gave us, some of the original feel. But man, I mean, again, kind of going back to your other question, I mean, if it wasn't for Disney, we wouldn't have that stuff. And we do have tons of new fans, and I think that helps us grow. I mean, there's makers, there's makers of all kind. If it's making costume, if it's making audio, if it's making different productions and stuff like that. I mean, you got guys who may have been shooting car races, because they were into drifting, and they go watch Mandalorian and then go hit up a couple guys with some suits and make the most awesome short film ever. So again, it's just us getting all this new stuff, man. It opens the mind, and it just fuels it.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. So tell me a little bit, because I mean, you and I have known each other for a good minute, but even I'm kind of confused. Tell me about the Dregen title and kind of how that came to be about, and let the audience know kind of where that came from.
So I originally started that page, which I don't even remember what it was called. I think it was I don't remember, but it was we had gone to Disney a couple years ago. Whenever, I'll have to look and see when I started the page, but we go to Disney, and it's still into Star Wars, but not full bore like I am. I mean, I've seen Mandalorian, I'm hype. I'm into it. Got to Batu, and it was oh man, there's Millennium Falcon. So fighting back tears, seeing Chewie walk around, seeing all this, really getting to enjoy that. I came back, started a little Instagram page, and was kind of just sharing pictures from that trip. So I started making which I don't have them with me, but little odds and ends and stuff. So I made these trinoculars, grabbed these an old camera from the whenever, and it had a try thing. So I did a bunch of stuff to it, added greeblies, added some LEDs, made it look like it was a Star Wars device. But long story short, so the page kind of started off with little, small little creations, whatever, and just really kind of pictures of what I saw at Disney. And I've always wanted to build a costume, but I hate rules. You know what I mean? Trying to get in with the 501st. There's rules for reason, and I understand that there's no hate towards those guys at all. But it was just, I like doing my own thing. I always loved the background characters. I loved seeing the citizens of Batu just in their vest and stuff like that, and weird scarves and stuff. I'm like, man, that's awesome. Those are the guys that were loading the Millennium Falcon while Han was at the cantina. It's just all these background characters. So long story short, I decided, hey, cool, I want to actually have a page and create a character. So one night, my oldest son and myself, we were just sitting around and went on for about a week. We created which I've never really shared the backstory. One day I'll get it all the details situated, and but basically created a backstory for this Dregen Hausk. Guy started off as a shore trooper. He leaves Scarif and he's heading to Yavin 4 because there's talk of this rebel activity. He goes there, but he's shore trooper, and he's taking a battalion, not a battalion, but a squad of stormtroopers in. Ship gets hit, and then this guy literally goes on the run, hops in with some smugglers, and like I said, there's tons of details, but anyway, so this guy goes on, and a bunch of stuff happens, but he ends up becoming a smuggler. He's got a legit shipping company, but they're still hidden cargo and stuff like that. So
that's very cool.
Yeah. So in the name Dregen, there was a band called the Helicopters that I liked. It was more like a rock and roll band from the late 90s, which they're probably still around. But I took their guitar player's name, and then my son just popped up with the Hausk. I was like, Dregen Hausk, that sounds really weird. People have a hard time saying it, so let's do it,
Nice. Yeah, it's very Star Wars-esque for sure.
Yeah. So it was just a good way to create and have something to do. Again, I love backstory, so it was hours worth of research, and I'm sure somebody can pick it apart. True Star Wars guy, I'm sure there's a planet or a timeline that doesn't work, but it was cool to kind of set out some timelines and stuff. And
dude, when you have an original character, and you can create whatever you want to, nobody can tell you who the other is.
My biggest hang up was I wanted him to start right before Rogue One, and then be able to go to Batu at my age. And I'm like, man, there's a 20 years difference. And my buddy Chuck with Galactic Salvage, he's like, carbonite. You were thrown in carbonite. Something happens, carbonite. I was like, okay, cool. So sure enough, my son and myself, we got all that stuff written in.
That's cool.
It kind of worked out. So I need to pull that together. I was actually reading through it the other day when we started talking about doing this. Just trying to remember the details because it's been so long. I've been working on another project, and it's kind of had all my brain power towards that. So I had to kind of kick it back to remember all the history with Dregen.
Nice.
But honestly, the page I've slowed down a lot between work, this other project I'm working on. I haven't had a lot of time to focus on, building blasters or painting. I got a droid that's like halfway painted, pulled apart. But yeah, more or less, it was just a way to kind of share stuff. And man, there's odds and ends I get from other makers and stuff. And it's cool to just throw all these little items together and take your phone and kind of pan over it and do that, add a little music over it, and just have fun. I mean,
oh yeah,
I was never a big fan of TikTok, and my family just kept, just make one of those, just do that. And It is cool because there's so much audio and different stuff out there that you can add to it. So I'll usually throw it on TikTok and then share it on Instagram. So
yeah, that's the way to go, especially too, because like now, so they make it so easy. Like I know there's a lot of people who like kind of like frown upon copying and pasting it, but like, man, there's so much content being thrown at you 24/7. It's very unlikely that the person who sees it on TikTok is going to also see it on Instagram. And if they are, they're like one of maybe like 10 or 100 that'll see that, like you're like my, at least for like my like P&P creations page, like my following on TikTok versus my following on Instagram, like they're two like separate entities, which is nice though, because like when you're busy, like you were saying, you're like, man, like sometimes you have trouble, like, even making content and stuff like that because you got work, you got family, you got a life, and it makes it easier just to kind of flop it back and forth, which is it's really nice. What would you give if somebody wants to kind of get into cosplaying or even like just making like props or anything like that? What kind of advice would you give them starting off?
Go for it. I mean, I don't know where they're at. This little thing here I threw together for Halloween, and
dude, that was so cool.
This simple little thing was the biggest pain in the butt, but I just went for it. I don't have a good understanding of different plastics and paints and stuff. Everything I do is just go for it. All this silver is because paint peeled off with a tape or something like that. I mean, there's legitimate mistakes in here that got filled in with Sharpie or like a silver marker. Really, it's just kind of go for it. But luckily YouTube, there is not. This is not a paid sponsorship, but YouTube, there's so many resources out there. Billy Maddox, Smugglers. I
think it's Smuggler's Room. Is that the one?
Smuggler's Room. That guy there. I mean, my bag that I did in Rebel Base. Jeez. Anyways, a bunch of good guys on YouTube. They've done it. You know what I mean? They've got a bag. They've done a few little things to it. Just get out there, expose yourself to it. But also armor parties. Anywhere, if you have the ability to go to one, do it. Social media is a huge tool. Facebook groups and stuff like that. Typically, you can find stuff in your area if you dig hard enough. But honestly, man, if you get on Instagram and you put like just a mass thing and tag a few folks, somebody's done it. And they'll help you. I mean, I get messages all the time, which it blows me away because, like, I look at my stuff and to me, I'm just like very critical of it. I'm like, this is not whatever. And people are like, man, how do you do that? That's so great. And I'm like, and it does like warm your heart and make you feel good. But I just tell people, hey, man, you just have to go for it.
Yeah. It's hard to get out of that artist mentality because I have the same thing where, like, of course, like you see all the flaws and defects because you've been looking at it for like hours and hours and hours. But then somebody else looks at it and they're like, that's the coolest thing I've ever freaking seen.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and, I think the coolest thing was, so I don't know if you follow him, but Billy Maddox, he's on Instagram and YouTube.
I don't know if I do, but I'll have to check him out.
Let me tell you, that guy is hilarious, man. Like his stuff is between his TikTok as well. He's just a nut job. But I mean, this guy goes to work every day and he looks like a normal person, but he's a rebel every day. I mean, there's some sort of color set up. He does good. But, I found that guy because I was trying to learn how to weather items. And, I mean, this is a guy in an apartment on a bench, and he's building blasters. He's weathering buckles, doing whatever, taking a bag and, taking stencils and using Sharpies, you know what I mean? So, like, he was a good gateway drug into this deal because literally with construction paper, a Sharpie, and some yarn or sewing needle and thread, like this guy was making rebel stuff, and he had a razor blade to rough stuff up. Now his ability to do other stuff is amazing too. So don't just think he's just this, doing it the cheap way, but some of his older videos and stuff are kind of what got me into thinking, okay, cool, I got this, I can do it, and just went for it, man.
Yeah, that's what I always say too, is just like, you'd be amazed also too, like most people have like a dollar store or like a Goodwill around them, and like it's crazy the amount of stuff you can get for like under $10 and just make it and modify it into whatever you need.
Yeah, and that's and again, going back to kind of like Instagram, what you just said. I mean, I think it's called Secondhand Cosplay on Instagram. She goes out and like hits up all these little things and has this perfect. It was a Jen Urso. Granted, it's not the exact thing, but if you were to see her wherever, I mean, that's it.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Just being able to pick up old junk and do stuff. And I mean, I'm a sucker now. I'm sure my household hates me because I can't pass by a junk pile without looking and seeing Greeblies,
I feel that.
Yeah. I got to keep it all in the garage, but I got it all boxed up, ready for a project.
Yeah, that's how I do too. I like have like a little box and I just throw it. I'm like, oh, that's a nice chain, or like, oh, that's some nice wire. I could probably do something with that. Just throw it in the box. I have a cosplay box, just full of garbage. So this is probably going to be the hardest question that I ask you. Starting from the Phantom Menace to Rise of Skywalker, go through each movie and name one thing that really sticks out or something that you really like from each movie.
So Phantom Menace, I will say the introduction of Qui-Gon Jinn.
Oh yeah.
I know we didn't get him for a long time, but what we got from him and to know how he set up all of what we had, I think is an awesome deal. I don't know. This is the prequels were just not my jam. So I guess the introduction of Jango Fett.
Okay, nice.
Getting to see him. So the oh god, now I'm blanking on the third one's name, but you know what I'm talking about. Getting the clones, the introduction of the clones and stuff, and actually getting to see them fight was super cool. What I loved about that was from the originals hearing, I fought with your father in the Clone Wars, and now we get to see the clones. That was a huge thing, and that just that ends. There's a tons of good things, but for me,
when they're fighting
that end scene, that Geonosis battle scene, and honestly, some of the other solos I've heard you do with folks, I think everybody ends up there, but there's something about that scene, man, when they just come. You think it's all lost, and then all of a sudden the drop ships are coming in. Yoda's hanging out the side and stuff. Yeah. I mean, you cannot beat it, man. It was awesome.
Yeah, I think that's pretty iconic for episode 2. Is like most 90% of people say Geonosis. Like whenever they're talking about it, just because it's so cool.
Yeah. So where are we at now?
Revenge of the Sith.
Revenge of the Sith. I guess the battle scene on Mustafar.
Yeah, that's classic.
It's that's a tough one. For first off, amazing battle scene, but kind of see the rise and fall of everybody.
Longest sword fight in history. Movie history.
Yeah. So seeing two guys that were brothers going to town and. Man, having to see that hurt in Obi's eyes when he has to leave him on the shores on fire. But, then also you get Palpatine. We get to see not really the creation of him, but the turn of the,
like him coming out.
Yeah. So I would have to say the battle scene for sure was the main thing for me at the end of it. That that one pulled some heartstrings.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So now we step into. Am I good with Rogue One?
Yeah, you can go.
What is there not to love about Rogue One? So the one thing is the whole show. Oh yeah, man, I love that whole show. I mean, for me, I love the U-wing. The U-wing was awesome. I love just a quick one is the creation of the shore trooper. I love their helmets. I love their design. We got a different trooper. I loved it from the trailer where we were only getting pieces and parts of those guys, and there was when they're piling out of the tunnel, watching that trailer over and over again, just peeling apart what do we have here. I love that. Well, it's
funny because a lot of people talk about the shore trooper, right? Because that was that one, but another one that I personally, that's my favorite that nobody talks about is the tank trooper, because it's a variant of the shore trooper, but it's has that black and white kind of
I only think because what I didn't like about that, because they had the slick snout where the shore troopers got the the modulator up there or what breathing apparatus, whatever it may be. But yeah, I mean, what's cool is that guy, that tank trooper. I mean, you look at that armor has morphed into so many different things that we have now. Yeah. It's just like, hey, okay, let's use this. Let's use this. Let's use this. So
the shore trooper definitely has more I feel like characteristics and more personality to it. Like the tank trooper, I definitely feel like it's more it feels like it's a variant of the stormtrooper, right? It's without, I guess, because you don't have armor below the I think they have
they got the side little side armors like where pockets would be.
Yeah, because I know it's mostly pants and then the shin guards.
Yeah.
But yeah, man.
But I mean, think about it. If you were sitting in a tank all day, would you want to be armored up?
Ooh, no.
So.
But no, somebody did one with the mouth, it is flat, but somebody did one with the shark teeth or whatever, and it looks so cool. Yeah,
that's pretty tough. Okay. Yeah, I got a half-finished shore trooper helmet in the closet that's been there forever. because I got it originally from 850 Armor Works, but then they changed the design, so some of the pieces weren't available. So I kind of want to do a mashup of something with it.
Oh, would that be cool?
Yeah. So we'll see what happens with that.
Nice.
So then we step into A New Hope. You know, I've always loved Obi-Wan Kenobi. So getting to see getting to see the father figure lead the young guy, which we didn't get him for long, but I mean, we watched him take an arm in the cantina, watch him, hold his own with Han Solo being a smartass. So
Alec Guinness is awesome, man.
He did good, man. He did good. It was just kind of good to see, him slowly train this kid. Well, I can't really say slowly. I mean, they had a few days together, but the time that they had, they did good. So I would say kind of the introduction of Obi-Wan Kenobi for me was kind of the thing that stood out the most. Again, I mean, I could go on for each movie. Empire Strikes Back this is always a tough one for me.
Yeah, there's so many good things in Empire.
So I guess for me, I loved Hoth just as a kid. That always stuck out to me. I live in Florida, so we never get snow. So maybe it was just the one of, playing in snow. I don't know. But seeing the rebel base and just carved out tunnels inside and, explosions are happening and you see the snow, like the ice and stuff falling on their heads. Hoth had to do it for me. I really loved it. And I mean, the speeders. So, and I always try to correct people because they were speeders. They weren't really snow speeders. They were speeders that were, modded to work in the snow. So But no, the speeders themselves were pretty cool. But again, I just love ships and stuff. I mean, we got a pretty little. Those things are like little bulldozers,
Yeah, it was cool seeing them. I did not expect to see that in Kenobi. When they were in the Inquisitor base, like I was like, oh, snow speeders, interesting. Okay.
When that thing come whipping in, because that's what always sticks out to me is as a kid I called them snow speeders, and then I had it somewhere, but there was a book and it basically said it was, don't remember the actual term, but it was the speeder. And I was like, wait a minute, that's a snow speeder. And then it got into that this thing was like a little, I think it was like a junkyard tug or something to move trash around.
Oh, really?
And then so I go back to Empire Strikes Back, and then one of the first things one of the officers says to him, he's like, hey, are the speeders ready? He said, no, we're still adjusting them to the cold. So they weren't really built for that environment, so it was kind of cool again to see the Rebels mod stuff up.
Oh, yeah.
Return of the Jedi, I think it was seeing Vader and Luke. I guess really seeing Luke grow up and then convincing Vader that, you need to come back, come back to the light, dark side's not for you. Seeing that change was amazing. I mean, it was, I think for me, that was kind of the like a huge, I don't know, message or whatever.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Just because you've done something wrong, you can always make it right. So that was,
that's my my ranking always changes on the Star Wars movie. Sometimes I'm feeling one or another, but that usually Revenge of the Sith and Return of the Jedi kind of flop back and forth between 1 and 2, and then every now and again, like Empire or New Hope will kind of bump up there too. But those two are like definitely like my favorite for sure.
I definitely I hate trying to rank any of Star Wars.
It's so hard.
It is, man, but there's so many little things, and I mean, it's weird. Like I'll latch on to the most oddest little item of a movie, and and I'll say I love that movie, but then I'll go back and watch it, and I'm like, cool, that part's over. Now I want to move on to something else. But I love watching these particular parts or seeing certain things. So
that's why I did this instead, because I used to have the ranking, right? Like I used to be like, hey, rank all your movies from like the best ones, that's your favorite one, and then the least favorite one. And then I was just like, well, because when somebody asked me that, I always say like, well, this is my list now, but you could ask me like literally tomorrow and it could be a whole different list. So that's why I like this kind of better, because like what we were talking about earlier, I think anybody is capable of picking like one thing that they like from each movie, even if it's just like, hey, I liked the color of the dude's shoes in episode 3 or something like that, you know.
Ace Windu's blade, that's it.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, so where do we end up now?
Force Awakens.
Force Awakens. Honestly, I mean, I think just the introduction of a new Star Wars coming back after, you know,
the hype is real.
Right. I mean, we had Rogue One, which again, to me, I think I can almost confidently say Rogue One probably is my top. I mean, like, just throw it up at number 1. Everybody else falls in.
It's great. Yeah, it's a great one.
But, you know, for us to get part of the Skywalker legacy, or not trilogy, but Skywalker series. Saga. There you go. Getting it back, you know, and we got a new vibe for a new Jedi that was up and coming. And again, we could pick it apart. You know, they should have done this, they should have done that. But if we could just take it for what it is, you know, we got new Star Wars. But honestly, it was seeing the Millennium Falcon whenever they're running, and it's like, you know, the junk will do. Yeah, the garbage will do, you know. That was awesome. And then
dude, I say Rey's, like when she's like, first off, I want to slide down that giant sand hill,
dude, but every time
her theme song when that plays is like dun 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 dun, like that's probably like, it's definitely in my top 10. Like it's such a, like, John Williams knocked it out of the park with that theme song. It was great.
Yeah. I mean, but think about too. I mean, like we're seeing Star Destroyers just crash down on the deal, and she's running through it, scavenging out along with everybody else. And it's like, in my head, it's like, what was going on? You know, like when that ship was going down, what was everybody doing? You know, but then, you know, as she's digging through there, you're seeing bodies and remains and all that stuff. Like, okay, yeah, we get what happened.
You see a little bit of that in the Battlefront video game. The Battlefront 2, there's like, you actually get to play the Battle of Jakku, but I don't think you see it's been forever since I played it, but like you're just kind of fighting along the top.
That's one thing that I'm jealous of, you know. I listening to you guys talk on, even if it's on round tables or whatever, you know, video games, when they came out, like those games, I was out traveling and working and doing stuff like that. That was like just a weird time of life, you know. September 11th, 2001 happened, and I was gone forever. So it was, you know, I missed all those opportunities, like to play all these cool games and stuff.
Don't worry, man. I'm going to be doing streams. I
love it, man. I'll flip it on and watch it.
I'm playing Lego Star Wars right now, but I want to play there's a Revenge of the Sith video game that, like, it basically is the same as Revenge of the Sith, but they have like alternate endings. Like, what if Anakin won? And like all these different like things. It's like, it's very cool. So I'm gonna be going through and playing a lot of those on my channel. So don't feel bad. You'll see
the Fallen Order and stuff, like the Cal Kestis and stuff. Like hearing that there is this Jedi that was off doing something, you know, and you get to play his role. You know, that's pretty cool. All right, so we just hit. So now it's the Last Jedi.
Yes.
The crate battle was
the red and awesome. The white. Those crystal foxes were pretty cool too.
Yes, yeah. So I'll have to say the Battle of Crate was it for me. I mean, even when Kylo goes running for Luke, and then he goes through him and he stops and his foot slides, and it's like all that red down there, and it's like, oh man. So I'll have to say the Battle of Crate, because that for me, that part did it. You know, I really enjoyed it.
Well, it had a lot of like Empire, the Hoth kind of vibes, right? Because you had like I don't know, because I don't think they're called AT-ATs for the First Order, but like you had like the inspired like AT-ATs
on a 10. Those things are huge.
Yeah, and they kind of like looked like they almost like walked like apes. Like they didn't have the same style. Maybe like the First Order learned from the Battle of Hoth, and we're like, we're not gonna make them the same way. And then when the Falcon's going through like the caverns and stuff like that, and you see all the crystals, like that was pretty cool. And while I've voiced this, while I may not have loved what they did with Luke, I thought that force ability that he did, where he like force projected himself like across the galaxy. You know, I thought that was kind of cool. Like that was like, we've never seen that force ability before. Like it's kind of sick.
That was awesome. Yeah, I mean, and I hear some, oh, I knew that was happening. No, you didn't, man. Yeah. That was so off the chain right there. That was awesome.
Yeah.
So then the Rise of Skywalker will have to be the Battle of Hexagon.
Dude, that was so cool with all the Star Destroyers.
Oh my god, lightning! All the Star when they come up, you know, and then again, everybody's fighting. You know, Poe's like, "Hey man, we're done." You know, I mean, he's literally checked out. Yeah. Again, there was other probably more monumental scenes happening at the same time, but for me, when Poe checks out, and then it's like, "Hey, we're here," and
there's more of us. And like, yeah.
And it's like, you know, is that a Navy? No, those are people. You know, so it had to be that battle for me.
For sure, I agree.
That was awesome. But again, it's just the love of ships, man. You know, it's just everybody showed up and. Yeah, I mean, I want to say for a while they said the Razor Crest was there, but they figured out it wasn't there. But you know, seeing the Ghost so many times throughout everything, and then getting to see the same style ship in Andor, was awesome.
Well, speaking of ships, I wanted to mention, because we didn't talk about it on Andor, and I completely forgot. But like I guess the guy, the bald guy that like gets spoilers if you haven't seen the last episode of Andor, that gets shot off the dude's back in Andor. I guess he owned the shipyard. I'm guessing.
I think so.
Because this would have seemed like it was connected to me, but I don't know.
Yeah, because the guy who's like helping him hook the ship up at the end, or disconnect the ship at the end, which the guy JT says I look like.
Yeah, so, I completely missed it when they said that. I was like, I'm gonna have to go back and watch. I was like, I don't know.
So what the thing was I went back and found a picture of me, and I have a tan Imperial hat on, and it's the same. I mean, to the T, it's the same goggles. And I was like sitting. I just found it. I was like, oh wow. I said, okay, cool. But if I actually do a cosplay, like a true, like, you know, 1-for-1, that'll probably be the guy, because that'll just be easy enough.
I mean, that's cool, man. You're like and because I feel like too, like you're like your thing is like the background characters, like you love the background characters, and he is like he's like the shipyard guy. Like he does everything in like the shipyard, and he has those dogs that are cool and stuff.
Dude, those things are wicked, man. Yeah.
But the reason why I was bringing that up is because like it pans in that little control room that he is when like Cassian calls him, like that ship is the Batu ship that's in the background
on Docking Bay 7, right? Is that what it's called?
Yeah. I think so.
It's on top and it's dropping it's got the 79, 80, and 83 on it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, I thought that was so cool.
And that's what, you know, what's funny is like, I know this is an Andor podcast, but you know, Tony Gilroy coming out saying, you know, we're not doing fan service for this. We're doing this our way. And dude, if he didn't serve up fan service for the guys, I mean, that is the thing that I guess, again, that I love about, and I'm sure anybody could have done it, but maybe Disney helps with that. If you look in the background, there is something back there that links to something else. You know what I mean? It is all over the place. I mean, the fact that we got to see the same ships from Rogue One that they come down in when they land on Scarif, it's in the background whenever the shuttle Tydirian, the Lambda class lands with Dedra. Again, I mean, it's just, we get all these classic throwbacks, and
you don't even want to talk about Luthen and Shaw. Like no fan service. I'm like, well,
man, all over the place.
I don't know about that. But no, it's great. I mean, people complain about fan service all the time, but it's cool. Like that, I think that's what makes Star Wars is you see little, like, even if it doesn't really make super, like, does it make sense that Cobb Vanth has Anakin's pod racer engine or something like that?
Yeah.
No, but it's cool.
Like, that is cool. Yeah.
He modified literally a pod racer engine into a speeder. Like, how is that not like the coolest thing you've ever seen?
Yeah.
You know, like, did it need to be happen? No, but like, it's like I said, it's cool. So
let me tell you, if I could be a skinny guy, Cobb Vanth would be a for sure.
Dude, I think I just say do it, man. I say screw it.
I'm too hefty for that. But yeah, he just his style, his swagger. You know what I mean? He just comes in, which a lot of folks really dislike him, but
I love it's the, you know, the Fett helmet,
the armor and stuff. Man, he looks tough. I mean,
well, his blaster looks freaking sick too. It's like all taped up. I don't know exactly what blaster that is, or if it's like even classified in Star Wars, but it's like it's like a modified sort of thing. And it's super cool.
For at one point in time, I had it down. It's got a title listing or whatever, a make and model for it, but but it's more of a Western 6-shooter looking deal rather than just a standard. And again, going back, I mean, that's what I love about Mandalorian. I mean, granted, we went to Tatooine how many times, but we got to spread it all over the place, right? Yeah, there's plenty of places to travel to. So,
for sure. Well, I'm going to ask you. So this is going to go into the Mynock Minute portion of the podcast, where I just ask you a whole bunch of like, what would you be if you were in the Star Wars? Like, your favorite this, your favorite that. So. The first question I usually ask everybody is, if you were in Star Wars, what faction would you be a part of? Would you be a Jedi? Would you be a Sith, smuggler, bounty hunter? Who would you be?
I would definitely just go out with smuggler. I mean, kind of being that neutral guy. I mean, even though I'm not a big fan of the dark side or the Imperial, regime, being a smuggler, kind of being able to float between the radars, if you got to do a couple jobs for them to get a couple passes through the galaxy, sure. Okay, cool. But I don't mind delivering to the rebels. I want to help those guys out, definitely a smuggler.
I thought that was so cool. Again, going back to Andor, when Luthen, because we never seen those arresting ships that hunt for smugglers and pirates. Yes. And then Luthen throws back all those metal shards.
Yeah, and that dome up front just disintegrates, man. That was freaking spot on.
I hope we get to see some more of that in the Skeleton Crew, honestly, because I believe, I don't know this for sure, but I think Skeleton Crew takes place during the Empire.
Okay.
I think. I don't know. We haven't really heard a lot about it, but I think that's what it is. And it's kind of like Rebels, where they're like a band of shenanigans,
I think to me the Empire hit harder than the First Order.
Yeah.
The First Order was cool, and I mean they had bigger guns, don't worry, but there was just something about the Empire over the First Order that I hope.
It's just the Age of Rebellion.
Yeah, it does, man.
Because it's like the Resistance and the First Order, I know they're not on the same playing field, but at least to me, it kind of felt like they were on the same playing field. That's why they're not called rebels anymore. They're called the Resistance, because they're resisting the First Order. Whereas the Rebellion, I felt like there was actual, you lose, you're done. I mean, it's the same thing in the sequels. I just feel feel it more.
Look at I don't remember the guy's name, but in Andor, his whole little group's going in to hit that fuel depot.
Oh,
Krieger, yeah, and immediately, completely wiped out. Yeah. Where with the Resistance, it's going in there and there's support ships. People still die, but they just didn't show up with six ships and stuff like that, or one cargo ship. I mean, there were they showed up with a force.
Oh, yeah. So. Well, I think that would be cool for. So there's a line in the Mandalorian. And we'll get back to the Mynock Minutes. I was like, oh, this is fast. And then we always go down these little rabbit holes, which is great about podcasting. But I think it's season 1. Yeah, it is season 1. Cara Dune is talking about being a drop trooper, how they drop her into I think maybe if it's not even in Andor, but seeing it doesn't have to be her, obviously, because she got fired. And
but to see that group,
but the drop troopers that they go in and they're the commandos of the Empire. I think that would be whether it's a video game, movie, whatever. I think that would be super cool to see.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%, man. Again, building off of a story somebody said and giving us a whole not really a whole series. Give me 30 minutes of it. I'm cool with it. Just give me something.
It could literally be an episode. If they can fit 2 episodes of The Mandalorian and Boba Fett, they can give us 1 episode of a Drop Trooper and Andor.
That's it.
Maybe it's Melshi. Maybe Melshi is part of the group, and that's
man, would that not be a cool twist to see how Melshi gets set up to be a rebel?
Dude, I like I said, I know I'm kind of repeating myself to you because you're in all our chats and all that stuff, but man, I really hope they fast forward. The thing that got me most excited about Andor, even over the grittiness, because I was like, oh, I want gritty Star Wars, but it was we've never seen like the true age of rebellion. Like, we've gotten glimpses of it and stuff like that, but we've never actually seen it. And like Rebels does it, you see it a little bit in Rebels, but I want like Andor version of like so I hope season 2, like more stakes, more Empire, like just like bump everything up to 11.
Yeah, I mean, and it kind of makes me think of the beginning of Rogue One, where Andor, he's getting the information from that guy, and the guy, what am I going to do? I got one arm, seeing more stuff like that. Which, I mean, we kind of got in Andor, but more cities, more stakes. Higher, just, crank up the playing field and let's go. I mean,
well, I thought it was cool because like this is the first. I think what threw a lot of people off is because like they're doing different genres, right, of Star Wars. Like Boba Fett was supposed to be like, even though Boba Fett didn't land with a lot of people, it was supposed to be a crime kind of genre, like the crime, kind of mobster boss. And Andor is a spy thriller. Like we have never had a spy thriller in Star Wars. So I really think next season they're gonna hit us even harder with it, because I thought it was good. Like some of the episodes were slow for sure, but like the episodes that were supposed to slap, like they hit hard. And it makes it worth it.
Yeah, I mean, in all of our roundtables, I could say every time the next episode ended up being the best episode. It just it all got good. I mean, now the Aldhani, watching the eye, that has forever have a spot in my heart. That seeing that TIE fighter just hanging there, and the eye is happening. It's coming over that shot, and the storm. I mean, getting to see stuff like that. So every episode had something special about it, but they all, even the slow ones, still were good. It definitely left you ready for the next one.
Well, that's the thing about Andor too, is like, to me, Andor wasn't the most exciting Star Wars show that we've gotten, or like even the most exciting, but like I was excited to talk to you guys about it. And that was like the like most thing that I got out of Andor is like, it was so much fun, like talking with you guys and seeing what you guys saw and seeing all like, and getting all the extra information, because Nick is like a genius. When he like sees everything
of Easter eggs.
God, Nick's bag of Easter eggs, man. He's crazy with it, and it's cool to see like all these little details that you don't get, from just having other eyes on it. So and I'm excited for Bad Batch and not Rogue One.
But we're getting into where we're getting with Bad Batch. We had them where they were getting their orders and they started breaking away, and now they're straight up. I'm not gonna say the rebels, but dude, they're pirates, just on the run, or deserters for that matter.
I wonder if, well, I guess we'll never know until the show's over with, but like it would be, how they added Rex like in the Battle of Endor because of that one dude that happened to have a white beard.
Which again, dude, that was hot. Loved it.
Yeah. But it could literally, the Bad Batch could have been like on like, because there was like multiple spots on Endor, or even like somewhere else. Like they could be somewhere else on. Yeah. That's another thing that the Battlefront game did, is you start off as the Empire Special Forces that land on Endor, but you're on like a whole opposite side of Endor, like trying to go to where like Han Solo and everybody is. So it could be the same thing with Bad Batch, where the Bad Batch could just be like on a different side of like Endor, creating a distraction or diversion or something,
Yeah.
But we'll see. Who knows? But
love it.
If you had to pick a Jedi or a Sith master to train you, who would you want to train you?
Definitely not a Sith. I mean, even though there's things that they can unlock, I think that power is too. I think there's too many ways to go wrong on the dark side.
Right. For sure.
So definitely would go for a Jedi. I don't know, man. Qui-Gon Jinn was just always like, he was always the guy for me. Mm-hmm. Again, I don't have the expanded universe. I don't,
right, for sure.
I don't have a lot of the comics. So just being a movie guy, Qui-Gon would probably be my guy. As much as I love Yoda, the talking backwards and all the riddles and stuff, I'd be too pissed off all the time. Like, Qui-Gon, what I loved about Qui-Gon, he'd get pissed off, but he would just like, he was still able to get you through it. You know what I mean?
Right. It made him more real. Like that's like, because that's honestly like that's my pick too. Like that, if I had somebody to train, like I'd want I have like the hot toy back there. Like I love Qui-Gon.
Love it.
And it was just something about like the way like he didn't fear emotions. Like he let them in, but he didn't let them like consume him, which was great, you know. If you had to, so say you are a Jedi, Sith, whatever you want to be, and you were constructing your own lightsaber, what style saber would you have? Whether that be like a single blade, double staff, and then what colors would you want?
Definitely a single, because with the dual blade, I would probably end up with no legs or missing an arm. So single blade, blue. I will say I
classic,
just
okay.
just a classic color. You know, blue.
I'll say I didn't understand green. I was like, green and blue, you see them everywhere. Like, and then I got like my saber and I turned on the green and I was like, I kind of understand green now. Kind of understand using green. Like, I was like, I don't know what it is, but
it does have a good feel to it.
Oh, this one will be a good one because you like ships, and I haven't asked this one actually, because I kind of shuffle my questions that I ask because there's so many. If you had to own one ship, what ship would you own in Star Wars?
My first love is a Lambda class, so the Shuttle Tidarian. Just watching those wings fold down, it's awesome. After the little run we just got, now granted the U-Wing, I know everybody's probably flipped, well, if anybody's listening to this episode of me, everybody's flipping over, it's got to be the U-Wing. I love the U-Wing. The U-Wing is an amazing ship, seeing it come in Rogue One, and then as a gunship, as a dropping troops off. I mean, the U-Wing is like that's what's written into my character and everything else. But the Lambda class was the first ship as a kid. I remember building a model with my older brother, and him detailing it out, making it dirty and nasty and stuff. But yeah, the Shuttle Tidarian, Lambda class, that's it. I mean, the way the wings fold down, that's awesome. But I think that's actually kind of what drew me to the U-Wing was seeing it come when it's coming in. The wings are folded back in a V, and then they're watching them come down, and then it hits and it starts, hitting the shores of Scarif was pretty cool.
I feel that I'm like the same way with the B-Wing because like I used to not really care for the B-Wing. I was like, whatever. And then like I watched Rebels and then I watched it rotates and I didn't know that it rotates. It's like my favorite ship instantly. Like I don't know. There's something
about the hair go down and then it's like the guy's like, oh well, and then up. Because I'm with you too. That what I knew of that ship. Yes, I never paid attention to it enough to know that it rotated around. But I mean, you talk about something, and granted, that's a whole lot of moving parts, so it's probably a mechanic's nightmare, but maneuverable throughout a battle, where you stay fixed all the time and you need to move, get the guns to a better position. You don't change, it changes,
Oh, yeah.
So
I think
definitely like the B-Wing.
I'm blanking. I don't know if it's the YT, I don't know if it's 1400 or 2400. I know one of those is the Falcon, but it's like basically like a version of the Falcon that's in a video game. It's like a smaller class version of the Falcon.
Is it the one that's used in Rebels that they come up and they save the kid in?
Maybe,
because I want to say the Falcon is a YT 1300, but I mean there's so many variations of that.
Here, it's Dash Rendar uses it. And the Shadows of the Empire. Yeah, it's the YT. It's the 2400, which is basically like it's like just a little bit of a smaller version of it's like the how like video game consoles, they always have like the thick chunky versions when they come out, and then they have like a slim version coming out like years later. Like this is like the slim version
of it.
But yeah, for some reason that one just looks so cool to me. If you had to bring one force power into real life, what force power would you bring into real life? And only you can use it.
I definitely love the force healing. Having that ability. I mean, which I know some people may say that's like just a quick, easy out, but being able to help folks and something happens. Now, granted, I don't know how much I get to use it or whatever, but probably force healing. That would be the one for me.
what is, and they don't have to be like in any order or anything like that, but list your 3 favorite Star Wars characters. Like they don't have to be ranked or anything, but like maybe just like top 3 or whatever.
Obi-Wan Kenobi for sure.
Solid.
I do love Cobb Vanth.
I know it's hard because there's so many characters.
Yeah. I can go a bunch of different ways.
Yeah, just what you're feeling right now. Honestly.
I mean, like Boba Fett, not so much the new series Boba Fett, but probably Empire Strikes Back, standing on the catwalk with a bunch of other.
No disintegration.
Yep. We didn't know anything about that guy. Just this figure there. So I'd say those 3. For sure. Okay.
Yeah,
I want Kenobi, Cobb Vanth, and Boba. So plus Boba and Cobb can cheer helmets. So.
Oh yeah. I want the aesthetic and feel of Empire Boba with the look of new Boba Fett. Like I love Boba Fett in black. Like I don't know what happened, but like I think that was the right choice. He looks good in tan too, but like the solid black underneath looks.
It's a different feel. It's he's older. He probably just had it on this old flight suit. Now right. he's probably not in the ship as much as he used to be, so he's kicking it around and get to wear pajamas all day. Can't beat that.
Heck yeah. Well, hopefully he comes back. I'm hoping we get a season 2 and he comes back with a vengeance in season 2, man. We get some of that kind of Empire style Boba. But so the last question that I ask everybody is if Lucasfilm called you up, it was like, Brad, we need an idea. It can be a video game, it can be a movie, it can be a TV show, a book, whatever you want to, but you have to pitch us an idea. What would you pitch them?
I would probably shoot for the Dregen Hausk deal. Not to just promote myself, but take me out of it, just to have this background character that really doesn't exist. But just another story of a fallen trooper who was loyal to the Empire and then saw how the Empire turned on their own guys at Scarif, smoked the whole place. And he says, okay, cool. These aren't the people I are going to work with. Doesn't really have loyalty towards the rebellion because that's who he's been fighting for his whole, up to the point of him kind of going on his own, but then realizing, okay, cool. I got to buddy up with the rebellion to destroy the Empire, to make that move, to drop those guys, and then honestly, he's probably at the end of it just an X-Wing pilot flying through and he's gone just like that, but probably something like that.
So if you couldn't, obviously you'd be the actor, but if you couldn't be the actor, say you had to write or direct it, who would you want to play Dregen Hausk? It could be literally anybody you want to, any actor you know.
Oh man, let me see.
I know that's a tough one too because there's so many good actors out there.
Completely, man, you got me on this one.
It could even be somebody in Star Wars. If you're like, man, I really like, I know probably not Harrison Ford, but like Harrison Ford's vibe. I'd want Harrison Ford to play. Like, who would you pick? Because, like I said, you're obviously the obvious choice because it's your background character, so you'd be playing them. But just if you,
could. Honestly, the first person that came to mind was Andy Serkis, and I was like, he's already been in there too many times, so I kind of just like,
hey, what's one more?
Yeah, but honestly, him playing,
dude, that's what he turns into. He can't swim, and then he gets shipped off to like, I don't know, like the Imperial boot camp, becomes a shore trooper.
Hey, that's a good way to play it in.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man. Or he gets sent to work on Scarif. He could be like another like prisoner on Scarif, and then you steal some shore trooper armor or something. Yeah. There you go.
Man, you may have just changed the whole story around now. I like this.
All right, man. Well, thank you so much for coming on. Let the good people know where they can find you at.
On Instagram, Dregen Hausk or Dregen_Hausk. Hit the Linktree if you want to check out my TikTok. Haven't been real active on there, but it's still there. Give it a like. Go like some videos. I have a Twitter. Probably going to disable that because it's just nothing. but was going to try to do Hive, but it's completely shut down from all the new folks hopping on there. But
really?
Other than that, yeah, man, it's that's it.
Well, thank you again for coming on. You guys, I'll have all those links down below so you can go check all those out. And as always, may the force be with you.